You probably have a head of cauliflower sitting in your fridge right now, um, just kind of acting like the boring beige wallpaper of your vegetable crisper.
Right, it's just always there.
Exactly. And usually when we think about really powerful, medicinal foods, we picture something incredibly exotic or visually vibrant.
Oh, absolutely.
You think like deep purple acai berries from the Amazon or bright orange turmeric or intensely green kale smoothies. I mean, we are just heavily conditioned to believe that true nutritional power comes with a loud visual warning label.
Yeah, it's that assumption that pale foods are somehow empty foods. Like
Yeah.
we look at a white potato or white rice and we just think, starch.
Right. Starch and carbs.
Exactly. So we naturally project that exact same nutritional emptiness right onto cauliflower.
Which is so unfair because it's this pale, bumpy, seemingly inert vegetable that has somehow secretly infiltrated every single modern diet. I mean, you literally can't walk through a grocery store without tripping over cauliflower pizza crust or cauliflower rice or
It's
gnocchi.
everywhere now.
It really is.
Yeah.
But today, we are going to look way past the low-carb trends. So welcome to the deep dive, customized specifically for you. We have a really fascinating stack of sources to parse through today.
Yeah, we've got a detailed health and wellness narration script and a clinical nutrition summary.
Right. And our mission today is to completely decode this humble vegetable. We are exploring its ancient roots, its staggering chemical complexity, and a surprisingly long list of people who actually need to be highly careful when eating it.
Which is an important list because we so often treat vegetables as simple, inert ingredients, just, passive filler taking up space on our
It's
plate.
just a vehicle for ranch dressing.
Exactly. But they are actually incredibly complex chemical factories that interact dynamically with human biology. I mean, what looks like a blank canvas for cheese sauce is, in reality, a highly active biological agent.
Okay, let's unpack this because before we can understand what cauliflower is actually doing inside our bodies, we really have to understand what it is and where it came from.
Yeah.
And I got to say, the botanical breakdown in these documents is kind of wild.
It really is. So, to start, cauliflower belongs to the cruciferous vegetable family.
Okay?
Its specific scientific name is Brassica oleracea, variety botrytis, which means it is a direct genetic cousin to cabbage, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, and kale.
Oh, wow. So they're all basically in the same immediate family.
Yeah, they all share that exact same cruciferous family tree, but the name cauliflower itself actually tells you precisely what you're looking at. It comes from the Latin roots cauli, which means cabbage, and florus, which means flower.
Literally cabbage flower,
Exactly.
which completely changes how you look at it.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's literally a flower, are we essentially eating a dense, pale bouquet every time we order a stir fry?
Pretty much. Botanically speaking, it's actually an undeveloped flower bud system.
Wait, really? Unopened flowers?
Yeah. That white edible sphere that we chop up is officially called the curd, or the head. And as it grows, usually reaching about 6 to 12 inches in diameter, it actually prepares to bloom into hundreds of tiny flowers.
But we get to it first.
Right. It's harvested right before that happens.
That-
And it's protected by these really thick outer green leaves that shield the curd from sunlight, which is actually what keeps it white.
Oh, because it's not getting sun to make chlorophyll.
Exactly. It's a natural process called blanching.
It's like an architectural marvel of nature, honestly. When you look closely at that curd, it's just this tightly packed, edible fractal. It just keeps repeating its own geometric pattern on a smaller and smaller scale.
It's beautiful if you really look at it.
It is. And this isn't some modern lab creation for the keto crowd either. This vegetable has a very old passport.
Oh, definitely. Cauliflower actually originated in the Northeast Mediterranean region. And from those coastal areas, it embarked on this massive global migration, spreading throughout Asia, Europe, and eventually the Americas. It thrives in cooler climates, which is really what allowed it to take root in incredibly diverse agricultural systems all around the world.
And as it spread, it wasn't just being used to, fill stomachs. Like, we are moving from what it is to how humanity has historically used it. And this is where the historical text completely blew my mind.
Yeah, what's fascinating here is that long before humanity had mass spectrometers or, clinical trials, ancient scholars were documenting the specific biological effects of this cabbage flower through sheer observation.
They were basically operating like ancient biohackers.
Yeah, they really were.
Because according to the historical texts, ancient scholars actually believed that cauliflower actively aided brain development and memory and learning. And ancient Greek and Roman medical texts explicitly prescribed it for gut health. Like they were using its high fiber content to fight constipation and feed good gut bacteria. They were literally treating a vegetable like a primitive nootropic for the brain and a prebiotic for the microbiome.
Yes.
But I'm a little confused. Without microscopes, how do they know it was affecting the brain?
Well, they were relying on long-term clinical observation. I mean, if an ancient physician prescribes a specific diet to 1,000 patients over a decade and notices consistent improvements in, say, cognitive retention or digestive regularity, they just document it as medical protocol.
That makes sense.
And here is where the ancient pharmacy meets modern chemical analysis. Because modern science actually validates those exact ancient claims, right down to the specific molecules.
That is wild. So what exactly were they observing? Like, what is the chemical mechanism that makes it a brain booster?
So it comes down to a nutrient called choline. Cauliflower is one of the absolute richest plant-based sources of choline out there.
Okay, what does choline do?
Inside the body, it doesn't just sit there. It is a direct precursor to acetylcholine.
Acetylcholine.
Right. That is a critical neurotransmitter that your neurons use to fire electrical signals to one another.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it is literally the chemical fuel for the brain's communication network. It regulates mood, memory, and even muscle control.
So when the ancient scholars said it aided memory, they were unknowingly prescribing the exact raw material the brain uses to physically encode memories.
Exactly.
That is incredible. And what about the cardiovascular and gut health claims? I mean, were the Romans right about that too?
Completely. Modern science shows us that cauliflower contains this incredibly potent compound called sulforaphane, alongside just really dense dietary fiber.
And how are those working together?
The mechanisms here are highly dynamic. So the fiber basically binds to cholesterol in your digestive tract, right? And it physically drags it out of your body before it can even enter your bloodstream.
Nice. A clean sweep.
Right. And meanwhile, that sulforaphane enters your cells and activates a very specific protein pathway called NRF2. NRF2. Okay.
Yeah, and that pathway basically signals your blood vessels to relax and reduce inflammation. So together, the fiber and the sulforaphane mechanically lower bad cholesterol and control blood pressure.
It's just densely packed with this massive roster of functional vitamins, too. Like, the clinical summary lists vitamin C, B1, B2, B3, folic acid, vitamin E, and potassium.
It's a powerhouse.
Not to mention the antioxidants.
We should really dissect those antioxidants, actually, because the material highlights 3 specific categories found in cauliflower: phenolic compounds, flavonoids, and glucosinolates.
Okay, I have to stop you there because those sound like proprietary chemical blends I'd find on the back of an overpriced anti-aging serum at a department store.
They do sound a bit sci-fi.
Right. Why do these specific compounds matter for the person eating them, and how are they actually working in the body?
So think of them as the chemical defense system for your cells. Every single day, as our bodies process oxygen and react to environmental stressors, we produce free radicals.
And free radicals are the bad guys. Right. They are unstable molecules that are missing an electron, so they just roam around your body, tearing electrons away from your healthy cells.
Which sounds terrible.
It is. That cellular damage is actually a primary driver of aging and chronic disease. It's called oxidative stress. But those phenolic compounds and flavonoids act like chemical donors. They freely give up their own electrons to neutralize those free radicals before they can damage your tissue.
They literally rush-proof your cells.
Precisely. That's a
Wow.
great way to put it. And the glucosinolates are even more specialized.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they contain sulfur, which is actually what gives cauliflower that slightly pungent smell when it cooks.
Oh, yeah, that sulfur smell.
Right. But those compounds actively trigger your liver to produce detoxifying enzymes.
Which is amazing. And that brings us to a really crucial point in this deep dive. Because this vegetable is packed with these volatile, highly beneficial compounds, the way we treat it in the kitchen can either maximize its superpower or just completely destroy it.
Oh, absolutely. It's all about kitchen chemistry.
Right. And almost everyone is making a massive culinary mistake before they even turn on the stove.
The leafy secret.
The leafy secret, yes. When you buy a whole head of cauliflower, the very first thing you do is hack off all those thick green leaves at the base and throw them straight in the trash.
Which is such a shame because you're throwing away the most potent medicine the plant has to offer. The scientific studies show that those leaves actually contain the highest antioxidant power of the entire plant.
Wait, really? Why would the leaves have more antioxidants than the actual edible head?
Because of photosynthesis and environmental exposure. Think about it. The leaves are on the outside. They are catching the sunlight and facing the environmental stress of UV radiation and pests.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, to survive, the plant has to pump its highest concentration of protective flavonoids and phenolic compounds into those outer shields. The inner white curd is protected by the leaves, so it actually needs fewer antioxidants.
So we're basically tossing the nutritional gold into the compost and just eating the packaging.
Basically, yeah.
The material is very clear. You can, and absolutely should, chop up, roast, or stir-fry those leaves. But, okay, even if you save the leaves, how you apply heat to the actual cauliflower curd matters just as much.
It does. Cooking method dictates chemistry here. The clinical data establishes steaming as the absolute superior method.
Steaming, not boiling.
Right. Steaming preserves the antioxidant power because it uses indirect heat and minimal water contact.
And the mortal enemy of the cauliflower is the rolling boil.
Oh, without a doubt.
Because the clinical documents point out that boiling it for too long actively destroys the nutrients.
Yeah.
You're literally washing a winning lottery ticket in the laundry.
That's the perfect way to visualize it because water-soluble vitamins, like vitamin C and the B vitamins, physically leach out of the cell walls and right into the boiling water, which you then just pour down the drain.
So tragic.
Plus, the heat breaks down an enzyme in the cauliflower called myrosinase, and your body actually needs myrosinase to convert those glucosinolates into the beneficial sulforaphane we talked about earlier.
Oh, the stuff that helps the blood vessels.
Exactly. So
Right.
boiling it too much fundamentally deactivates the plant's biological pharmacy.
Now, if you want to preserve that chemistry, you do have options.
Yeah.
Because it is wildly versatile. I mean, you can eat it raw, steamed, roasted in the oven, or blended into soup or a puree. You can make it into a cutlet, toss it in a salad, or pulse it into cauliflower rice.
But if you want to really optimize the physiological impact, there is a specific dietary prescription in the sources. The data recommends eating it 2 to 4 times a week, specifically paired with other vegetables, like broccoli, carrots, spinach, beans, or lentils.
Why parrot? Does cauliflower need a chaperone to do its job?
It comes down to cellular synergy.
Synergy, okay.
Yeah, different flavonoids operate on different cellular pathways. So when you combine the specific sulfur compounds of cauliflower with, say, the beta-carotene of carrots, the overall antioxidant capacity isn't just added together, it multiplies.
Oh.
Yeah, it provides a much broader shield against cellular stress.
Okay, so we've firmly established its nutritional power. And naturally, whenever a food proves to be this powerful at a chemical level, it leads to massive internet hyperbole.
Oh, always.
You get the superfood clickbait. And we really need to separate the genuine clinical mechanics from the exaggerated miracle cures you see while scrolling through social media.
This is a vital distinction. And the most prominent area where we see this hyperbole get out of hand is around cancer prevention.
Right, because the material does talk about cancer, but the language is highly measured. It notes that the glucosinolates, the isothiocyanates, and the sulforaphane found in cauliflower do actively help fight harmful cells in the body.
They do. And they do that by supporting a process called apoptosis, which is essentially programmed cell death.
Like a self-destruct button.
Exactly. When a cell becomes damaged or harmful, these compounds help signal that cell to self-destruct before it can multiply. And laboratory studies suggest this mechanism helps reduce the risk of certain cancers. But this is where we have to be scientifically rigorous. Cauliflower is not a cure or a targeted treatment for cancer.
So what does this all mean for you listening? It means we have to push back against the concept of a magic dietary bullet. A vegetable can have incredibly potent biological effects without being a literal cure-all.
Right. If we connect this to the bigger picture, we are talking about systemic health support. Cauliflower isn't a targeted chemotherapy drug operating like a sniper rifle. Instead, it provides the building blocks for the body's own natural immune janitors.
I love that. Immune janitors.
Yeah, it supports the baseline defenses, provided it is consumed as part of an overall consistent, healthy dietary pattern.
And the clinical data highlights very specific demographics who see the most measurable benefits from that baseline support.
Right.
Like if you're dealing with high cholesterol or high blood pressure, this vegetable's chemical profile is custom built for you. It's heavily recommended for managing obesity, prediabetes or type 2 diabetes. And it's also specifically flagged for people with cardiovascular disease risks or anyone needing to achieve weight loss and higher daily fiber intake.
Because for those populations, the mechanics of the fiber binding to sugar and cholesterol, combined with the sulforaphane reducing vascular inflammation, provide really measurable metabolic support.
But here's where it gets really interesting. Because cauliflower contains such biologically active compounds, it is absolutely not a free-for-all for everyone. Our clinical summary includes a surprisingly long, highly specific list of warning labels.
And this shatters the common assumption that natural automatically means harmless. When a plant possesses potent chemical properties, it will force interactions with the systems in your body, and in some cases, it will actively compete with the pharmaceuticals you take.
Let's start with the thyroid because this mechanism is fascinating.
Okay, so cauliflower contains natural compounds called goitrogens. Now, your thyroid gland acts like a metabolic engine for your entire body, and to run that engine, it absolutely requires iodine as its primary raw material.
So think of your thyroid like a factory, and iodine is the vital supply truck trying to make a delivery. Goitrogens are essentially protesters blocking the loading dock so that iodine can't get inside.
That is exactly how they function chemically. They competitively inhibit iodine uptake. So for someone with hypothyroidism or a pre-existing iodine deficiency, consuming large amounts of goitrogens can actively suppress their thyroid function even further.
Wow. So do they have to banish cauliflower from their kitchen entirely?
Not at all. Normal dietary amounts are generally safe, but this loops right back to our kitchen chemistry. Heat breaks down goitrogens. Yeah. Cooking the cauliflower significantly deactivates that competitive interference. So for those with thyroid issues, the clinical protocol is eat it in moderation, always cook or steam it rather than eating it raw, and ensure your overall diet has adequate iodine from other sources.
Okay, so heat neutralizes the thyroid blockade. But the next warning label is about your blood. And this is where my jaw genuinely dropped.
Yeah.
Eating a bowl of cauliflower can physically dictate how your blood clots.
It can, and this interaction is driven by vitamin K. Cauliflower is a solid source of vitamin K, which your liver actually uses to synthesize the proteins required to make your blood coagulate and clot.
Which is usually fantastic, right? Unless you are taking a specific medication explicitly designed to stop your blood from clotting. The material specifically highlights warfarin, which is a very common blood thinner.
Right. This is a classic drug-nutrient interaction. A medication like warfarin is precisely calibrated by a cardiologist to thin your blood to a very specific viscosity. If you suddenly eat a massive portion of vitamin K-rich cauliflower, you are introducing an influx of clotting agents that directly antagonize the medication.
It's literally like taking a mild, natural prescription drug that actively fights your pharmaceutical prescription drug.
Exactly, and this is why doctors monitor it so closely. However, the medical advice is rarely to just stop eating vitamin K vegetables altogether. The medical advice is strict consistency.
Consistency.
Yes. Patients on blood thinners just need to keep their cauliflower intake stable from week to week. You cannot eat 0 cruciferous vegetables for a month and then suddenly eat 3 heads of cauliflower over a weekend. You have to keep the dietary vitamin K steady so the physician can dose the warfarin accurately around it.
That is so important to know. So we've seen how this vegetable manipulates the thyroid in the blood. Moving down the biological assembly line, we hit the digestive system. We talked earlier about how the ancient Romans used it to heal the gut. But for some modern digestive systems, it is an absolute recipe for disaster.
Right.
Specifically for people with IBS or irritable bowel syndrome.
Yeah, the culprit here is a specific class of carbohydrates known by the acronym FODMBP.
Okay, I have seen that word on so many health blogs. What does FODMP actually stand for?
It stands for fermentable oligosaccharides, disaccharides, monosaccharides, and polyols.
I'm never going to remember that.
I know, it's a mouthful. But essentially, they are short-chain carbohydrates and sugar alcohols that the human small intestine has a very difficult time absorbing. And cauliflower contains a specific FODMA called mannitol.
So if the small intestine can't absorb the mannitol, where does it go?
It travels intact down into the large intestine where it meets your gut bacteria. And those bacteria just feast on the mannitol and rapidly ferment it.
It's like a microbrewery in your gut.
Exactly. That rapid fermentation produces a massive amount of gas, which triggers severe bloating, abdominal pain, and diarrhea in people with sensitive systems or clinical IBS.
And even if you don't have clinical IBS, just drastically changing your diet can cause a localized rebellion because of the sulfur and the heavy fiber.
Oh, definitely. Any sudden, drastic increase in dietary fiber will shock the gut microbiome. If you go from eating highly processed foods to suddenly eating raw cauliflower every single day, your digestive system simply won't have the bacterial diversity required to break it down smoothly.
You're going to have a bad time.
You will experience significant gas, burping, and discomfort. So the clinical advice is to start with small, cooked servings, drink ample water to help the fiber move, and let your gut bacteria slowly adapt over a few weeks.
Okay, so we've navigated the gut. What about the body's filtration system? Because that exact same fibrous, chemical-heavy profile means the kidneys have to work overtime to process it, right?
There are two specific chemical considerations for the kidneys. First, oxalates. Cauliflower contains moderate amounts of oxalates, which are naturally occurring compounds that can bind with calcium in the urinary tract to form kidney stones.
Ouch.
Yeah. Now, for the vast majority of people, the kidneys filter them out seamlessly. But individuals with a history of calcium oxalate kidney stones need to be mindful of their total load. It is worth noting, though, that cauliflower has significantly lower oxalates than heavy hitters like spinach or beet greens.
That's good to know. And the second kidney consideration is potassium, which was actually on that long list of beneficial vitamins earlier.
Right. Potassium is phenomenal for healthy cellular function and blood pressure, but it is primarily filtered and excreted by the kidneys. Individuals with advanced chronic kidney disease have compromised filtration, meaning potassium can dangerously build up in their blood. Those patients must heavily monitor their serving sizes with a renal dietitian.
It is genuinely staggering how targeted these biological interactions are. And the material rounds out the warning labels with a few more niche groups. There are rare but documented allergies to cruciferous vegetables, meaning people can ingest cauliflower and experience itching, a localized rash, swelling, or even trouble breathing, which obviously requires immediate medical intervention.
Yes. Furthermore, for infants, pureed cauliflower is generally safe to introduce after about 6 months of age. But introducing large quantities all at once can cause significant painful gas for a developing digestive system, so gradual introduction is critical.
Makes total sense. Finally, anyone recovering from major gastrointestinal operations like bowel surgery or resolving an intestinal obstruction may be instructed by their surgeon to temporarily avoid complex high-fiber foods entirely until the internal tissue is fully healed and functional.
And this raises a really important question. When you look at that exhaustive list of warnings, thyroid blockages, blood clotting interference, digestive fermentation, it might sound incredibly intimidating.
It does a bit, yeah.
But it's vital to synthesize what this actually means. For the vast majority of healthy adults, cauliflower is perfectly safe and profoundly beneficial. What this warning list actually proves is the undeniable mechanistic connection between diet and human biology. It proves that what you put on your fork isn't just filler. It is active chemical information communicating directly with your cells, your organs, and your medication.
Which is exactly what we set out to decode today.
Mm-hmm.
We've taken this deep dive from the ancient rocky shores of the Mediterranean, where Greek and Roman scholars were intuitively using cabbage flowers to heal the gut and boost the brain's acetylcholine, all the way to the modern clinical realities of glucosinolates and cellular rust-proofing.
It's quite a journey.
It really is. We've explored the chemical mechanisms of why you should be steaming instead of boiling your marasines away. And we've uncovered the reality that this humble beige vegetable contains compounds potent enough to dictate how your blood clots and alter how your thyroid absorbs iodine.
So, if you are taking anything away from this analysis to apply to your own kitchen tonight, remember the most actionable points. Stop throwing away those thick green leaves at the base because they are packed with environmental flavonoids.
Flavonoids.
Yes. Choose to lightly steam your cauliflower to protect its volatile pharmacy. And most importantly, remember that maintaining a consistent, varied diet that supports your body's systemic defenses is always going to serve you better than chasing after isolated miracle cures on the internet.
It fundamentally changes how you perceive the produce section. Next time you're staring at the grocery store displays, look at that pale, bumpy, seemingly inert head of cauliflower sitting there quietly. And ask yourself, if this simple, boring-looking vegetable is secretly operating with the complex chemical mechanisms of a pharmaceutical drug, what other invisible biological superpowers are hiding inside the everyday foods sitting in your crisper drawer right now?